you want me to go out and fight, I will. If you want me to go fight for you, that's fine. I'll be down here on the fourth line.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ozzy. This is the Fourth Line Podcast.
I'm Ian. Short lungs today, Oz.
Yeah,
Didn't want to hold it out.
no, I can't hold it out today, boys.
You gotta save your breath.
Daylight savings. I'm like an hour short.
Oh, it's true.
We're here with two guests, two legends here.
Yeah, my name's Zeke. I'm the captain of the men's Division II team at the University of Utah. Born and raised in Fairbanks, Alaska. And I'm here with my teammate, 3-4.
I'm 3-4, also known as Reed Pittman. Grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Moved over to Dallas in high school for a little bit and was junior at the U, and I absolutely love it.
So we're here with these two boys. So they're on the University of Utah's men's 2 team. So it's the Division II level. They're having quite the year. Will you guys just break down for us a little bit how far you've come? Like story time, we were talking about this before we hit record, but Ian and we played against Zeke in his first season at the U. It was the first season the Division II team existed, and they, for lack of better terms, they were not good. You guys, like respectfully, you guys really struggled, and it was sad, but it was like I think we all knew that it was just a matter of time before you guys figured it out, and you've been around to see that the past 3 seasons, that improvement. So.
Yeah, it's been really special. Like, I won't mince words. We were terrible. We had house-level guys and no matching gear, like black helmets, and that. It was just none of us had played college hockey in our first game at BYU. It was packed, like 2,000 fans, I would have to think, and we just got crushed. Probably, 13-1, I think it was. And it was points night. None of us.
It was points night for us.
None of us knew what we were getting into. Like, none of us had ever had a Zam cut after warm-ups. We really had no clue what was going on. And Forney was our coach. He's still our coach now. And, and he didn't even really know what to say to us to get us going. And now, through 4 years, we've basically cycled through a full roster. We have 5 guys left from the team, and now it's unbelievable. We have such a talented group, and this year we've made nationals, and I actually think that first year we were the worst team in the region, and now I think we ended the year number 2. Like, we were that bad, and in 4 years, Forney's flipped this group upside down, and we've become a really, really talented group, and it's been great to see. It's been crazy to see just in 4 years how quick you can build a program, and a lot of it is some of it is local guys, and most of it is just out-of-state kids who want to come and enjoy the U and have seen the team become more competitive and grow it even further.
Yeah, totally.
One really good thing though also about that first year though is I came in the second year and I was able to see the repercussions of it and build, but Forney has always put in the locker room the message out that you stay on the shoulders of the guys before you, and with their group, they're the last group from that first team, so it's kind of sad to see them go, but it's helped build the culture and help put us in that number 2 spot for sure.
Totally. What's his first name again?
Nick.
Nick, that's
Fornelius.
Right. Nick Fornelius. So he grew up in Utah. He played hockey at Skyline. He was on that freaking back-to-back Skyline high school team, and then he played at the U, right?
Yeah.
So he just recently won the award for Coach of the Year in the West region for the ACHA, which is pretty cool considering he's only coached this team for 4 years. And for you, what impact has that had on the improvement?
Yeah, I think Forney, he's a legend, absolute legend. When I first joined the team, he was pretty young, and it was sort of a thing that he was close to our age. He wasn't a peer of ours, but he was close enough for it to be like, all right, I don't really know this guy, and I don't know what kind of coaching experience he has, and he's an unbelievable coach. Like, he is so even keel all the time. He's never cracking a smile. He's business all the time, and he's done such a great job. Like, that first year, nothing has changed. Like, we were getting crushed. Now we're winning games. We're blowing teams out, and it's the same message. It's the same, business mentality, and he's a skills coach, really. Like, that's kind of his day profession, and unbelievable guy. Like, he's a shorter guy, and he's such a great coach. Reed and I worked with him all summer long, and he's improved your game so much on the skills end, and then he steps into the head coaching role, and he can lead a group of guys like no one I've seen. So I think he's really multifaceted.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, building a team like this is tough, and he's done it. I don't know what you want to add.
I'll add that another good quality I see in a good coach is being able to learn from the past year and whatnot. Started out first year, a bunch of college guys. Probably wasn't his best year. Everyone failed. And then he was able to really build. And then we have new assistant coaches this year, and he was able to, like, really help them out, and because he's already in their shoes, and, like, telling him what he's learned from past experiences, and now he's kind of mastered those skills, and now we're thriving. And
I think that's a great point. He's like, I think the thing about Fournier is he knows like what we've been through. He's lived our life.
Yeah.
In some, like, he played on the D2 team, and then I think he was there for the transition to D1.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, for the most part, he's done all the same things that we've done. You know, he's partied at the same houses. He's taken all the same classes. Like, he can really relate to us in a way that some of the older coaches can't do, you know? Like, he knows when to take the foot off the pedal, when to push a little further.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe the most valuable thing.
Totally. I think that's really important in club hockey, too, because I think a lot of people don't realize the difference between playing NCAA and playing in the ACHA. It's like you're not getting any help from professors. Yeah. You're not getting any help from TAs. You're not getting any free passes. Like, you're expected to get good grades, but to do that you have to be a student. But also you're asked to be at practice and to, you know, to bring forth your best effort, when it's like any normal student would be dying over these classes. Plus you got to add all this to the mix, the workouts and everything. And it's good to have that. And that kind of explains a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think he does a great job with that. And it's tough. Like, you probably have a 50% chance that the professor will be like, oh, okay, yeah, like, you're going to be gone this weekend. Like, I'll let you go, you know, like, you can turn it in a couple days late. A lot of the times I'll just be like, sorry, it's not school sponsored, so you're just gonna have to get it in.
Yeah,
You know?
that was tough. I don't miss those days at BYU. It's like you knew that the test was coming up. You better prepare before you leave. So.
half the time they'd be like, we have a hockey team? And they like wouldn't even believe us.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you were just making it up.
You're like, let me pull up the website.
Like, is it
real quick.
imaginary? Like,
Kids are getting creative with their homework excuses now.
yeah,
I
seriously.
think another good thing about him too is that, like, with his young age, like, you're able to connect with him a little more. Like he was saying, like, he lived what we are living, so he knows what's going on. But I remember coming in, I was like at training camp, which is a great thing we do. But and I was like, how are these guys just having like conversations with this coach? Like I know, I've had coaches in the past that are good, but never like we're just talking about verbal things sometimes. And me and Forney, like, now I'm able to just go up and talk to him about his weekend or stuff, and then we'll get serious about hockey or stuff.
Yeah.
But,
That's awesome.
Yeah, he toes
Yeah,
the
that's
line
awesome.
well. Toes
That,
the line.
yeah, that kind of connection to have with a coach, like, not only can, like, build trust and confidence in the player when you're looking for guidance in games and in practice, kind of like you guys have talked about, but just, like, even at, like, Ozzy and I have graduated now, but we still have a great relationship with our BYU coaches, and, like, that's something that you guys will have for the rest of your lives with Forney and those other guys. And obviously, you know, you have the brotherhood on the team.
Right,
and
right.
You guys are kind of the first Utah team in the D2 program to go to nationals too, from what I understand. So that's, I mean, to have that kind of memory, to go out to St. Louis together and share that, it's pretty unreal.
Yeah.
Going back to Forney, like, what do practices look like for you guys? Are they very, like, structured where you're working on systems? Are you guys doing battle drills in games? Like, how does he structure that, and how does that improve your guys' game throughout the season?
yeah, from all the teams I've played on, our practices are the best I've ever had. They're structured very well. Mondays are usually like a flow, get back on the ice, mix of battle, mix of just a lot of skating, a little bag. Tuesdays are known battle days. Every Tuesday, if it's not a battle day on Tuesday, something's wrong in the schedule.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are your systems, power play, work on the 5v5 in zone or something like that. But
Yeah, we have an hour 15 slot, because like the other teams get, I think, an hour, but they practice an extra time, and then we get 3 days, hour 15. So we're on the ice 4 hours a week for practice, and back to the consistency thing. It's been that way for all 4 years. It's been, you know, kind of flow. He's refined it a little bit, but, you know, flow day on Monday, Tuesday always battle day, and there's always like a big reward. It's the most. It's honestly probably the reason our team has gotten so good is he'll send out the lines and each team black and white, and then it's, the punishment is serious punishment. 1 minute test, bag skate, running the stairs at Steiner in your gear. Like he mixes
in your gear. That's crazy.
He mixes
oh
in like, these battle days. These battle days can be life or death. Like more competitive than our games sometimes, and we'll do that. And then Wednesday we'll get into the systems, power play, PK, and we do it the same every week. I don't think we never leave the system. We do the same thing. Obviously different drills and stuff, but each practice is the same theme.
Right.
And I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Like it's very structured, and then sometimes, he'll give us the last 10 minutes of practice to sort of do our own thing, but for the most part it's very structured, and it really helps, I think, the guys.
I think you have 2 laps tonight.
Yeah, I do. We lost. We lost last week. We actually did a team scrimmage to try to make it as close to a game as possible.
Yeah.
And it was two laps of the Steiner stairs, which is basically a full bowl in gear.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Awful.
1 year he made us do 7 laps of stairs in our gear. And like we almost, I think I was close to just riding. Like it was the most mad I've ever been. Like I was almost just like, nah, I'm good.
Are guys yakking when they're doing these stairs and
Zeke,
stuff?
Endy, I come from Alaska.
Yeah.
I play for.
Yeah. No, like these stairs, like it's yak level. It's tough, and we do dry land before every Wednesday practice, and a lot of the times, every Tuesday practice, and a lot of the times it's that thing, and then the punishment. Like you could have a day where you do have to do the dry land, then a battle day, and then do the punishment from the battle day in a 3 hour. Like
Sometimes
he's kind of
it's
ruthless.
mercy,
Sometimes he does give mercy.
It's just for pride and glory tonight, fellas.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. It'll just say it's for pride
All the
tonight,
fellas cheer,
which basically just means we don't have to, die.
Yeah, no
There's
stairs for
death.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's skating a stride slower. They're like, oh, all right,
just
boys,
for
we can
pride.
chill out here.
Yeah.
I remember, though, last season, he came to the locker room during a game and was like, come on, fellas, like, play like it's battle day. I mean, gosh, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
they're
seriously.
terrible. Y'all try so hard in battle day and come out here and you're terrible. And, we played there after.
Those are some of the best memories that I have. Like those battle days. I mean, we did it when we were playing together, but especially my freshman year, like we were really good. We won the Utah Cup, we won the Mountain West. Like we were just like, we were the team that year, and it was fun. But our practices were way harder than our actual games.
Yeah.
Like we were yelling at each other. We were breaking sticks. Like on the ice practice, like it was, bloodbath. Like we were going at each other, and then as soon as we got in the locker room afterwards, it's like, all right, where are we going to dinner? Like music's playing, like nothing happened again. Like so
That's the best.
that's awesome. That's good and I think that's important because we get a really big high school following, and like youth kids listen to this podcast and stuff, and I think that's huge for them to hear coming from you guys. Is like those days where you have battle drills, even if it's just 12U hockey, 14U hockey, high school hockey. Like it is important to battle hard and learn those skills to get possession of the puck, make a good pass, get to the net, like those things. Because if you practice really hard and you do those little things right, that's what transitions to a game and helps, you dominate Utah
100%.
State, Weber State,
100%.
like those teams. So
If you're practicing harder than you're playing, like, I think you're doing something right,
Yeah,
and then obviously you can play harder if you need to. But if you're coming on a Tuesday night after you had class all day and you can get up for that, what can you do, on a Friday when you're dialed in and ready to go for a game? That means the most. If you're having 3 hard practice days, and for youth kids too, like maybe they practice 3 times a week after class, after school, then you have 3 great practices. You're only playing 2 games, so the practices are more important than the games are going to end up being. Like that's where the money's made for sure.
We could tell a difference this season, too, especially because, like, we really implemented the dry lands more this season, and we had more mandatory and everything, and you could see in most games that some of these teams we play, those third periods come around, and we were just way better.
Yeah.
Just ends up having more legs.
Totally. And that's something I wanted to ask about, because I know at one point in the season, I don't know if it's still the case now, but I don't think you guys had a single guy over a point per game, but you had like 9 or 10 guys that were like 0.89, 0.95 per game. Which for those of you listeners that don't understand the significance of that, normally your first line is averaging like, what would you say, Ian, 1.8? points per game.
Close to 2 points a game.
Like, and to not have that, but then to have more so 3 lines of like second line numbers, like, how do you think, because that adds up with your battle drill practices, like, how difficult is that to play against? For a team like Weber, Utah State, like, to play against 3 solid lines and even a 4th line that can go out there and fly, like, how difficult is that?
I think it's so tough because you're just, we just don't stop. Our 4th line isn't a weakness. Like, we think in the matchup game that our 4th line is beating every 4th line. It could even beat some 3rd lines, and that's when it really starts to add up. And on the point per game thing, we don't have one. I think Connor Beers, our top scorer, he's like right there, and then me and a couple other guys are a little bit below him. And in years past when we played in the Pac 8, it was point night a lot of games, so we scored a lot of points and had a lot of fun. Then we moved to a new league this year, and it's a lot tougher. The Mountain West is a lot more difficult on a nightly basis, but some guys are putting up huge numbers. I think we just have so much depth, and we just trust in our system play more than anything else. Like, we just get in on the forecheck. We're not necessarily out there to score a lot of goals and do the Michigan every night. I think we win a lot of games 3-2, 4-2, and I think winning the game that's something that's changed a lot for me. Like, I used to care a lot about how many points I was putting up, and now I'm just like, if we win the game, we could win 1-0 every game. None of us could be a point per game. I really don't care how it happens, and especially with such great goaltending that we have. We have 4 great lines, 3 great D pairs, and then two of the best goalies in the region. Like, that's a recipe for success, So.
Yeah, the depth is crazy, especially from my freshman year to now. Like, it's gone deep, and that's another thing that leads to our intensity in practice is you're battling for a spot in the game. I think we have 11 scratches.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Wow.
We carry a lot of guys.
Wow.
Yeah. So everyone's battling for a spot.
Life or
wants to
death.
play. Like, everyone is good enough to be able to play in every single game we play. So you get shows in practice. Like, if you want it, you gotta show up that week, and it's hard. Everyone's gonna have an off day, of course, but I mean, it's practice, and then you gotta show off a game. So
There's limited spots.
Wow, that's great. I didn't realize you guys had so many scratches. Like depth, like meaning guys that were signed to the team that are practicing with you. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So for you guys, like, what would you say is the big appeal for coming and playing at the U? Because you're both from out of state, I feel like the University of Utah is not that obvious as an Alaskan or as a Texan when you got all those awesome SEC schools down there. And even the guys on your team, you mentioned a few of them are from here, and then most of them are from out of state. So are people coming with the option of moving up to D1? Is that kind of what people are hoping to do, is climb up the ladder there? Or is it just Utah being Utah?
I think our team, a lot of the kids are, the main difference with D1, D2, we talk about that, is a lot of those guys have juniors experience, and almost none of our guys. We have a handful of guys who played juniors. For the most part, we're just kids who played 18U and then came to the school to play school for the most part. I know Reed and I did that. And then nobody goes up, and a couple of guys come down from the D1 team to our group. But for the most part, we just kind of have our own thing within the program. I would say the appeal over anything for our team is the culture by a sizable margin. That's something that we've really grown, especially being so bad at the beginning. We had to have something to hang our hats on, and that ended up being the culture of the group off the ice. There's days where I hang out with Reed at the library, then I hang out with Reed, play video games, then we go to practice, and then after practice we get back on the video, and then we go, the next day we're playing basketball at the Student Life Center. Like, all the guys on our team, 12 of the guys live together, and then 9 of them are in the dorms, so you could say those guys live together roughly, right? So there's 21 guys that are all right on campus. The culture by a mile. I think it's better than our on-ice play, and it's what makes our team is the culture for sure.
Yeah.
We hang out every weekend. We have pickleball group chats, golf, we go bowling. Like, we do everything together, and that, I think, is what makes our team appealing. If you're a high school kid and you want to make 30 lifelong friends, come to our team, and you will have that.
Borderline a fraternity.
Yeah, it's a fraternity with extra benefits.
You're not just paying for friends; you're paying to play and friends, right?
You're staying fit.
It's unreal.
You're probably building some muscle over the,
let's go.
Yeah, it's.
No, I'd say to the appeal aspect, growing up in Alabama, of course, Alabama being a huge school for our high school. My high school would go mostly Alabama, Auburn, and then you have a couple that branch out, maybe like Tennessee, Ole Miss, or some of those other schools. But and then moving out to Dallas, I started snowboarding. But always been a big college football fan, so that was a big thing I wanted was good college football. And the U's got great sports all over. I mean, you have football, you got gymnastics, one of their top dogs every year. Yeah. And then basketball, unfortunately, we beat the Cougars.
Yeah, basketball.
It's all right, we'll get them next time. But I mean, they got everything. There's always something to do. Football games are great. I mean, we may not be winning big titles or anything like Alabama, but I had to shout them out. But no, it really is good. And then on the weekends, if we don't have much going on, you're going skiing with the buddies. Yeah. There's ski group chats. Everybody.
I could see you got the raccoon.
I do. I got a little dog too. Mine's not as bad as some people.
Yeah.
All the guys.
So I love it, and we'll carpool. And like you said, we're hanging out or watching Four Nations or whatnot, and we'll have rows and rows of couches. The culture it's always been the best, I think, since I've gotten there. No matter if you're losing or winning, the boys are hanging out.
And if you're like a kid listening, you aren't from here, the skiing. Like every guy on our team basically comes here to ski, right? And then from there you can kind of branch out for the most part. Yeah. We got a lot of like SoCal guys, a lot of Vegas, Seattle, Portland, a lot of West Coast kids, Colorado,
cool Boston
guys. Yeah, like for the most part, everyone comes here to ski, and then from there you can kind of figure out the best ski in the world for the most part. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think another like important thing for like the young listeners too is like listening to these guys talk about culture. We hear some stories of like coaches, players, and teams where they say like, this is our culture, and they have a list on the board of words. Oh. And it's like
painted on the wall in the locker room. That's
and like,
how you know it's bull crap, dude, when it says
it's
it on the wall.
It's like a great idea. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But listening to you guys like just talk about like going and getting food after practice, going and playing ball or skiing together, like, or lining up the couches and watching the Four Nations, like, almost better than Stanley Cup final hockey, in my opinion. Like, that Four Nation was so fun to watch. It's like unreal.
Yeah.
But it's like, for you young listeners, like, that's what culture really is. Culture is something that you build with your teammates on and off the ice. It's not just a practice. It's not just in the locker room. It's the experiences that you guys get to do off of the ice altogether. And that's what makes hockey so fun. It's like you're together for so long. It's not just one season, it's almost 3 seasons that you're together, and you just get to make some of the best memories that you'll never forget for the rest of your life. So that's pretty cool hearing you guys talk about that. That's real culture.
Yeah, that's special. That's something you can't recreate it for sure.
No.
Totally. We were at a junior game this weekend up in Vernal. They've got like a little team up there, and they were competing for the division championships against like some team from Seattle. And it was interesting to see. We were up there. We were sitting up in this little perch, and we'll talk about it more on our next episode. But we were up between the benches up above, and so we were listening to both sides of the bench.
USP chirps are probably unbelievable.
It was crazy.
It's nuts.
And Vernal's a wagon. They're, I think,
45-0.
I think it's worse.
No.
Is it 45?
45-0 is after their championship win.
Unbelievable. Haven't lost a game, and it showed. And it was crazy hearing the difference on the benches, which, like, obviously, if you're getting your wheels beat off you like 4-0 in a championship game, you're gonna be ticked. But like, you could just tell one team there's a brotherhood, and the other team there was nothing.
Yeah.
Even the relationship between the coach and the players, like one team was bought in and the others weren't. And I think that's something that's so important, because you don't have to reach college to achieve that. You can have that on a team with 12-year-olds or 14-year-olds. Like, if you put aside the ego and really come to love the people you're with, it can turn a team from getting beat like 12-0 every game to winning 2 conference championships in a row and getting an auto bid to nationals. Like
something as simple as like banging on the boards for your guys. Like if they get hit or they make a big hit or they just make a simple little play. Like our bench is going as crazy when the fourth line gets the puck in and has a nice productive shift as we are when we score a goal. Like when you just put aside, like you said, the ego and just have fun with the boys and lift everybody up. And I think we're fist bumping like normal shift. If I just dump the puck in, I'm going down the line after I get off the ice. Every single guy, a little fist pump. Like that's like it's so real. Watching the benches if you're going crazy for your boys, like it's just gonna lift. A rising tide lifts all boats. Really is so true. Like,
there's really no cliques on our team. We keep that, and then the energy. There's definitely a correlation. We have high energy in a game. Boys are flowing. They're going hard.
That's the key to victory.
Yeah,
Number one
winning.
key to victory.
But then there's some games where it's just a little off the first period. No one's really yelling. No one's really getting up for a good play or a block. One's blocking shots. And they're terrible. And then 40 sets us straight, and then come out in the second period, and then we get we know the formula that works, and so we get back to it, and then it leads to an auto bid to Nationals.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about your 2 championships. So the first one, you're in the Pac-8. So for those that don't know the U very well, they were a Division II team for a long time, like all the other teams in Utah. And them and Arizona State just kind of ran the conference. And so they both ended up going up to Division I, and then ASU, as you know, eventually went Division I NCAA. And that's a really cool story. But so to add a second team, like to add a women's program, to add a D2 team is huge. But for you guys, like now to be back to where that initial D1 team was a few years ago, to be running the West like you are with these 2 conferences, like what goes into that?
Yeah, I think the Pac-8 was sort of tough. We had sort of almost outgrown it. So the second year of the team, we got a couple guys dropping down from the D1 team, Otto, Chow, who we talked about, and we were probably good enough to leave that. We lost in the championship to University of Washington. They were a really good team. And then the next year, it's like, all right, we're gonna win the Pac-8. Like, a lot of the games are sort of uncompetitive games. UVU would like, if the listeners know UVU level, UVU would beat a lot of the teams. So UVU would beat a lot of the Pac-8 teams, and then so we won that. We won that last year. That was a great game. Overtime winner Garrett Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
He's an Ogden guy, legend. We won that, and it was sort of, I don't want to say a cakewalk, but we had sort of outgrown the conference, and the travel was tough. Like, we were flying almost every weekend to the West Coast schools, like Seattle, San Fran. I mean, we hit all the great tourist spots, right? We went to Seattle, San Fran, LA, all in one.
It wasn't bad
year.
going to California.
It's way better
Yeah.
than Great Falls, Montana.
Yeah, by a mile. We traded January 11th. Last year we were in Manhattan Beach, and I think
great.
January 11th of this year we were in Butte, Montana. So
Flew in some sweatpants and sweatshirt, and
Yeah.
quickly changed some shorts and a t-shirt. It was amazing.
we had to make a big sacrifice to get to the better hockey.
Yeah.
We'll say that. The Mountain West, obviously. So we won that last year. Good year, but not our best. And then this year, I sort of had thought, okay, Mountain West, every night's a tough game in the Mountain West. As you guys know, like BYU played in it. Every night, for the most part, you're playing in front of a lot of fans. It's a lot of good teams, a lot of mature teams. And I was like, all right, well, we might take a step back this year. That just ended up not happening, and we ended up being competitive the first year in the new conference and sort of just went on a run, right? I think we were the 3 seed against Weber. Weber was the 2, and then Montana State was the 1, and we beat them, upset Weber, and then upset Montana State in the championship.
Yeah, that's like a huge upset. Like we were losing our minds around a cell phone.
We were watching that game
we were
on our
skiing,
phone. We
and
were like,
"That's
what is
crazy."
happening?
Like literally, I saw it. I was like, no way, boys. Because Montana State, for those that don't know, like Montana State, honestly, is they kind of have all the makings of going Division I, like NCAA one day. I mean, there's nothing to do in Great Falls, and they've got all these programs. I think they have 2 men's teams and a women's team now, and it's just kind of a matter of time. And I think they only lost like 4 times this year. Right?
Yeah, we were the only team, I think, in the West that beat them. They have to leave the West to play teams in Minnesota in the Central, and they lost in like shootouts there.
Yeah.
They really they run everybody.
An absolute wagon. And so for you guys to beat them up there, like in Montana, in the conference championship, where I think they've back-to-back or three-peat.
I think you
back-to-back because Mary was still around before that.
Yeah. So that's just crazy.
I'll say the other thing too that's a little bit different than like the hockey you play as more of being an out-of-state guy from Alabama and Texas, which is all flat, and Alabama is just like a bunch of trees and stuff, but it's still beautiful. Is here everywhere we go is just so nice. I got buddies back home, and one of my buddies just wants to come out west, wants to go to Montana, wants to go Idaho, and wants to explore and stuff like that. And we get to do that almost every weekend. You're on a bus, and it's hard to really capture it because you're just on a bus full of fellas. But outside is just mountains and nice rivers. And like I remember when we go to McCall, Idaho for training camp, there's a road we go on, and it's just beautiful. Everywhere you look, I'm out the window. Everyone else in it filming. Like, what are we doing here? But I mean, even living in Utah, I mean, you walk out your dorm and mountains, walk out your house in the car, mountains. And it gets old, but then you think about it, and you're like,
yeah,
I like this.
There's nothing like the scenes here in Utah. Whether you're in Salt Lake County, Utah County, just up and down both. Like, you do kind of take it for granted when you get used to it, where you like walk out and you're like, I've seen the scenery so many times. Yeah. But then you go home and you're like, oh man, I miss the mountains. Like this place sucks.
Yeah. Mountain West bus trips got to be by far the most scenic ones. Like,
they're
Montana State.
also the most dangerous bus rides you'll ever have in your life. The snowy canyons and driving through the middle of the night. We were the kind of the same as you guys. So we didn't do our training camp up in McCall, but we played Boise up in McCall a couple of times. Unreal, like the snow, like it was beautiful. Lake was frozen over and everything, but we drove back after our last game against them in the middle of the night, and like it was a white blanket. You had no idea where the road was. Like, it wasn't even just the lanes. Like, you had no idea where the road was. Our bus, like, we woke up multiple times because our bus had turned sideways sliding. Like, we didn't think we were going to make it home. It was pretty sketch. But
I think, I don't know, whenever we go out to Montana is usually when it happens. I think after we won the championship, and that was quite the bus ride, I'll say that, like 8 hours back, it was a whiteout, and it's terrifying. Some of those times on the back of the bus, you're fishtailing.
And the thing is about club hockey that people might not realize is, the team budget is tight, and so to just stay another night, like literally, some teams aren't even able. I don't know the Utah's finances, but like some teams literally can't. It's like, we have to go back. We have to push through, or this is going to be the players are going to have to put it on their credit card to stay a night somewhere, and so. It's just wild. And speaking of finances, like we wanted to have you guys on a little bit earlier before Nationals because you guys leave on Thursday, is that right? Or Wednesday?
Wednesday. 4:15.
Yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about finances and the fundraising you guys are doing for Nationals. So explain a little bit about that, like how different it is to have to fundraise to go to Nationals rather than any other, like just for the regular season.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. You want to go?
I'll just talk before you get that going. I think at the start of the year, our dues, our nationals is not included because you don't know if you're going or not. So it's all fundraising is huge. Passing the link around or just word of mouth to get anybody just to spit in $5 or whatnot. So it can be tough, especially for some teams and whatnot. But I think we've been doing pretty good at hopefully getting some good fundraising and exposure to it. But
yeah, I think. Obviously, at the start of the year, you pay your dues and do that. And then once you kind of know, I guess maybe the writing's on the wall for some teams, right, like Montana State and those guys. But for us, the writing wasn't really on the wall until we had made it. And then from there, it's sort of a mad dash, like a month to scramble and try to make all this money to send, 30 guys on a 6-day trip to St. Louis. It's really expensive. So I think our financial, team, you can call it. We have a manager, general manager, AJ. He does a great job. Like, it's really, really well done, and we don't have to handle basically anything. Like, we just show up to the rink and play. Like, it's really that simple for us, and in our organization, it's so seamless. But for Nationals, it's a whole different animal. That's why I was like, man, I'll send a DM to these guys, a Fourth Line podcast, see if they want to get on.
And we were talking too. It almost makes it double as hard. Having your Division I team and you guys going because those sponsors that are just writing a check to Utah Hockey, now it's like, well, you need double. And you can't really go back to a sponsor and say, can you give us double for both our teams? Because that's just not what you do. Yeah. And so it's just, it's a crazy position to be in.
Yeah, 60 guys.
Good problems to have, but like crazy. And the women's team was a win away from going too.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, could you imagine? Oh my goodness!
90 University of Utah players.
That would be unreal. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
They talk about it at the beginning, just like guys, the goal of the season is to get a nice charter over to St. Louis
Right.
for all 3 teams.
Yeah.
So let's make that happen. But
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sending 90 kids, at that point, basically it's the whole plane. You're not that far
Yeah.
off from sending a whole plane of guys.
Just reach out to Ryan Smith and use the UHC plane.
Yeah, seriously. Ryan Smith, get at me. Yeah.
So speaking of nationals, well, for those that are listening, we'll send you, or we'll post a link for you to go donate. Like, anything helps these guys to get over there. So if whatever you have, like whatever you can do, definitely help these boys out. They've earned it. They've deserved it. For you guys looking forward to nationals and stuff, has Forney talked about like game plan? Like, do you guys just doing your thing, showing up, or have you started to scout something like Lindenwood, Northeastern,
Yeah.
and Indiana? Yep.
Yeah.
Have you started to scout these 3 teams and kind of figure out how you want to address them, approach them?
That's tough. I think it's so tough because in the ACHA, a lot of the times you're scouting based off of like common opponents. Like, Weber lost to Montana State 3-1. We lost to Weber 3-1. All right, should be 4-goal differential, right? Something like that. Then you get to this, and it's like, all right, well, Indiana, they look good. Like, I could look at their EP and see where they played as a kid and get a rough estimate of how good these guys are going to be. And then you watch the film, it's like, man, I have no idea. It's so objective, the film, because maybe they're playing a bad team, maybe they're playing a good team. Who knows? So I think you get out of the region, it's like really just a toss up. So Forney's just been preaching, like, I think, and what I've sort of been trying to make a message of is our good is good enough. Right? We don't need these teams to play down to a level for us to win. I think we're at the point now where if we play our best and we control what we can control, that we can just win each game and each matchup. Obviously, Indiana, defending champs, Lindenwood, 35-2. Home team. They're sleeping at home. Like, that's gonna be a tough one. That's all right. These guys all played. They're all 20 bombs from the NA3. We have, I'm the veteran of the team. I'm 21. Like, our rookies, their rookies are as old as me. Like, some of it is uncontrollable, right? Like, these guys are gonna be a wagon, and we're just gonna have to show up and just play our game and hope that is good enough.
Well, I think that's what's cool about you guys is your game plan is so effective if everybody's doing it. Like, the whole just dump and chase, run a system, and just beat the crap out of guys in the corners. Like, it's hard to stop, and it showed with Montana State where you almost can't even plan for it, like, because you don't really know what it's like to play against a team full of second line talent until you've actually done it.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are really unique in that sense where I don't think I've ever seen a team like you guys. Like, it's really been fun to watch. So
yeah. I think hopefully Forney doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but I'll say it, like, we run a man-on-man in the D zone. It's really hard to notice, and almost no teams do it. It takes a certain level of team to be able to do it. It takes a team with a lot of depth. Only one team that I know of in the NHL runs it. The Hurricanes ran it for a long time. We literally get a guy in the D zone. It's 3 guys down low, usually 2 guys up top, right? And you will just stay on that guy. There's no zone. There's no you'll switch every once in a while. But teams don't know how to fight it off. Like, Montana State, we won 1-0 against an absolute wagon of a team. A lot of the time, they're just shooting the puck from outside because we have a guy on every single guy. Like, youth teams,
Inside the house,
youth teams will split it up into 4, and then 2 guys will go, and then the wingers usually stay on the D. Like, we run a man-on-man, and it's so hard to break because, you have to beat a guy one-on-one just to be able to have a chance to shoot on the best goalie in the region. Like, it makes it really, really difficult to beat a team when you say we all have second-line talent. Like, all these guys can play defense at a really high level, and it's tough to beat a man. It's really unique. And, like, Montana State, in the first time we played them in the Beehive, we took them to overtime, and that was a win in itself, taking them to overtime. And in the handshake line, they were like, man, like, that was the toughest game of the year by a mile. Like, their coach had realized we were playing man-on-man, and they just couldn't crack it.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really unique and really difficult to stop.
Yeah, if you're fast enough, I think it turns a first-line player into a third-line player on offense really quick. I mean, because you don't just have to beat one guy, but after that, it's like, can I even get a shot through?
Yeah.
Like, is there even a lane for me to shoot it and get it on net? So.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guys circling the D zone, just going around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. Eventually, we're going to turn it over, and a lot of times we're going to have an odd man rush going the other way because of it. So
I'll also say, we talked a little bit earlier, we have our formula, we stick to it, and that's probably going to stay the same in St. Louis. But our coaching staff, they do watch film. I've heard them talking about it. They watch film on all three teams. They will continue to watch film. So if they see a change that needs to be made, they'll let us know. If man's not working, they'll change us up when they want to, and we'll make the adjustments, which you see a lot in I think in playoffs, like for Stanley Cup. The teams that start off hot in the first period or whatnot, sometimes they just don't win because the other team will make that right adjustment, and then they just kill them and they can't readjust back to it and get the win. So
yeah. We have 4 coaches, and like they all are really, really high level guys, and they understand the game at a high level. And I think that's where we're able to implement the adjustments, like Reed said, kind of at the intermission, and that really gives us, kind of a step on other teams because all 4 coaches are just understanding the game at a high level, and they're able to convey what needs to be done. And we just play a simple game, which really helps too.
They're all bought in. And we even have our other captain, Zach Monaco.
Yeah.
And he's not able to finish out the season with us on the ice, but he's still making sure that his skills are appreciated off. And
he's literally a video coach.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually in the stands, on the live stream, clipping the things and then coming into the locker room and giving us
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's huge.
Yeah,
I mean, just to see those adjustments, that's huge.
Yeah, he had a concussion and he's like, all right, guys, I'm out. And he came into the locker room, a game against Weber in the Mountain West, and he has a clip for every D-man, like, hey, do this, we need to work on this.
Unreal.
And with a man-on-man, it's so easy to see the breakdowns because it's like, you had this guy, and then how do you get open in the slot, right? Like, it's so simple. It's like, you had this guy, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
Totally.
It simplifies the game. Very simple.
I think that's a lesson that a lot of young players can learn is, just find a way to contribute. If you're getting 8 minutes a game, if you're stuck on the 4th line and wish you weren't, find a way to contribute. If you're a healthy scratch, find a way to contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seriously.
those are the best type of teammates, and coaches do notice that sort of thing. Those are the guys that would just ride or die for you in battles in the corner. So
someone can also put your name above someone else's. Like, this guy was ready on waters during period 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Got the waters filled. We need an extra stick for one of the guys who got the stick. And Foreign makes that clear at the beginning of the season in McCall. If you're scratched, it's all right. It's not the end of the world, but you're still helping the team to win in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So.
You're still an important
system.
piece.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got quite the system going, and everybody's contributing. One thing I'll touch on, and I don't know, hopefully youth kids can get a lesson from this, but it was in our first round matchup. We were the 3 seed. We were playing 6 seed Montana, just the University of Montana at home in the conference tournament.
It's a tough place to play.
Play, and they're a really good team. The 6th seed in the Mountain West, pretty good team. They made regionals, and one of the guys on our team, Evan Richards, I think he had one shift in the first 10 minutes. He was on the 4th line, and sometimes you just don't see the ice that much. And he was the reason we won the game. He had one huge shift. I think it was his 2nd or 3rd shift of the game. He laid 2 big hits, got the puck deep, great forecheck, caused a turnover. Then the first line went out there, and I think we scored on that shift. And that was that started a run to the championship. Was a 4th line guy, 2nd shift of the game. I think it was in the 2nd period, and he just goes and lays a hit, gets in on the forecheck, and it's man, Ev, you just won us that game. And he doesn't even, he's not even thinking in anything of it.
Yeah.
It's just an energy guy making an energy play, and then the whole bench just flips on that play, and then from there it's just a runaway train.
He earned his minutes.
Yeah, he
got more shifts after that. Got the name of the roster for the rest of the games. I don't think he missed the game.
No,
weekend.
he just wanted it more than everybody else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where he was in the line.
Electric.
Totally.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, and I think that's something to be said about a coach in that position too. It's don't just run the same guys because it's worked in the past. If someone's going and ready to go, run him. Give him a chance. Because I do think sometimes in youth that coaches make those mistakes of saying, oh, well, that guy's a 4th line player. He'll always be on the 4th line. And it's no, I mean, what line you're on really depends game to game. It depends who's ready to play and who's excited and fired up. So
who wants it?
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of times Forney will, he'll come into the locker room before the game and he'll start the 4th line, and I'll be like, dude, come on, Forney, Put me out there. Then he sees me. He's complaining. He's like, well, would you rather go against the first line, the other team, right? When they start their first line, we start our fourth line. They win that shift, and then we get a lower line matchup for the rest of the game, right? Until they switch it up. Like, we can play their second line, and then our second line can play their third, because we just have that depth. So I think coaches, there's a lot of gamesmanship in it. Like, your fourth line doesn't have to be your fourth line if you don't want it to be. Like, you can make it. You can make it 4 first lines.
You're confident enough to put them out there against the first line on the other team. If you know they're not going to get scored on, I mean, it's awesome.
If they're going to go shut it down, it's a huge win.
Yeah. I know that so our other buddy that does this podcast with us, Caden, he couldn't be here today. He was a healthy scratch. He coaches a 10U team down in Provo. Oh, and he loves it. He's one of the best coaches. Like, he's fun to play for. It's fun watching him on the bench, and he's the same way. He starts his I don't even want to call it like third and fourth line. Like, he just starts a really solid line against another team's top line, and like, it's 10U hockey. It's nothing serious, but like, he just tells those boys, like, all he tells them is set the tone. Go out there and set the tone. And those boys get buzzing, and it's like they're 8 and 9 year olds. You know, they're nothing crazy, but seeing them go out there and hustle, like, make the small play like you guys were talking about, and then you get your big boys to come out and finish it off. Like, it's unreal. It's
set the tone. That's one of our Ben Leduc. He plays on my line, and he just runs through somebody's face to start the game. Like, skill guy, physical guy. He's everything. And he will just run up and down the warm-up line. Set the tone, boys. We got to set the tone. Who's going to set the tone tonight? Like, it's just an energy game.
Yep.
We literally just turned it into an energy game. And, if you can win that, advice for a youth team, if you can win the energy game, I'm going to go on a limb and say you're probably going to win the game on scoreboard.
Yeah.
For sure. So
I think that's going to be a huge difference maker for you guys in St. Louis. Like, I mean, it's very easy to look at film and just say, okay, these are the lines to match up against. These are the players to match up against, and go that kind of direction with film and stuff. But when you guys, I mean, here's the thing. Oz and I and Caden have watching your guys' games. We've talked about this all season long. You can run any of your 4 lines against any line in Utah or the Mountain West, and we would say you guys not even just hang with any line. Like, you guys can outplay any line, any of your 4 lines.
Yeah.
It just depends on who's ready to go and who wants it. Totally. Like, so watching, like, it wasn't a shot. Like, we were stoked for you guys. Like, we were off our wheels when you guys won the Mountain West, but it wasn't a shock. We were like, they could do this if they keep it close, and like, you get to the third period, like, you guys are a closeout team. You keep a game close like that, and we're like, oh yeah, Utah's coming back. They're fine. They're good.
And what's kind of cool is you're going up against a bunch of teams that have been there before, and so there's almost a little bit of entitlement. Like, we're Lindenwood. Like, we went Division I, or like we won the national championship last season. We're Indiana, when it's like, you guys have been getting written off by everyone all season long, and so it's kind of like nothing's new for you. You know, people are gonna expect, like, oh, it's that sleeper team that wins games 1-0, but it's like, a win is a win. And, I don't know. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I'd put some money on you guys making some upsets this weekend. That. So we just wanted to thank you guys for coming on, and best of luck to you. Like, what a cool experience for you guys to get to see that program grow and to be part of it.
Shoot us some photos, some videos. We'll post it on our social media.
We want to keep
everybody We'd love to see it.
Yeah, we don't want you guys to get lost in the mix with the Division I team there. Like, all the love to the D1 boys, but like, you guys worked just as hard as they did to get to nationals, and we want to make sure you're recognized too. So do us a favor, you guys. We posted the link in our bio a few times, just of the donation links, but especially send some money over to the D2 boys so you can buy them dinner, get them some steak or something before one of the games.
We appreciate it. Anything helps. We're trying to make hockey a thing here in Utah, and I think the college level is a great place to start. A lot of kids can come and watch, and hopefully we can bring something home for everybody. So thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it. You guys have a huge following, and we wanted to get in on it. So of course, thank you guys.
Thanks for listening, you guys. This is the Fourth Line Pod signing off.
If you want me to go fight for you, that's fine. I'll be down here on the 4th line.